Mayor, call me your pledge.
Pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Down, roll if you would, please.
Martyr,
Here.
Macer,
Here.
Schneider,
Here.
Sofa,
Here.
Wilson,
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Zimmer.
Here.
Non-agenda items from the sideline, I don't have anything here, so. None. Doug, have you got anything from us?
I gave each of you an annual report from the fire department, just to give you an idea of the runs we had and what they were. Last night, we had our 2 newest members start the fire academy, so they'll be in training until the week before Memorial Day. And yesterday, we learned we got a $5,000 grant from DNR. We applied for it for buying that new trailer for the Ranger. Unfortunately, it's one of those grants that if you buy the item before you get the grant, you can't use the grant anymore. But the good news is we called DNR up today, and they said you can use it for whatever you want. So it's a 50-50 match, so they would donate $2,500, and we had to put $2,500 in for something that we need for the department.
Very good. Thank you.
So you can use it for air tanks?
Yeah.
What's our air tank status?
You mean for our SCBA's?
Mm-hmm.
We're good.
Oh,
We're getting them hydro tested right now, so,
very good.
yeah.
We see our person record. The police chief is not here, so let's move on. Is there any amendments to the agenda? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I make a motion to adopt agenda as presented.
Support.
Macer,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Sofa,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Zimmer,
Yes.
Martyr.
Yes. Approval of the regular meeting minutes from December 16th, 2022. If anybody doesn't have any corrections, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve the regular meetings of December 6th.
Support.
Schneider,
Yes.
Sofa,
Yes.
Wilson, Weaver,
Yes.
Zimmer,
Yes.
Martyr,
Yes.
Macer.
Yes.
Okay, presentation and approval of the December disbursements report of $145,994.59 and the electronic wire transfers of $19,195.55. Can I get a motion, please?
Can I ask a quick question before?
Certainly.
I think I might have the answer, but I noticed on the last couple there was business cards. And I'm thinking, boy, we spend a lot of business cards.
That's a gas
But
card.
that's what I figured, there must be a credit card. or
Yeah, it's
something.
for the gas that
That's-
they use.
Just wanted to make sure I understood that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the December disbursements of $135,945.59 and the electronic wire transfers of $19,195.55.
Support.
Sofa,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Zimmer,
Yes.
Martyr,
Yes.
Macer,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Communications, I have none. Unfinished business, there is none. So moving right on to new business, the resolution, a moratorium to consider revisions to the marijuana ordinance. I'll take a second and read this, if I can with these graphic glasses I have. It's a resolution to pass a moratorium to consider revisions to the marijuana ordinance on marijuana establishments. Whereas the City of Memphis Code of Ordinances titled, what is that?
11.
Is it 11? And I've got terrible glasses here. Chapter 117, Section 17701 through 177010 authorizes marijuana establishments within the city of Memphis. Whereas the city of Memphis City Code wishes a 90-day moratorium to consider revision to the marijuana establishments ordinance. Now therefore it is resolved by the city of Memphis, City Council of the city of Memphis, Michigan, effective January 3rd, 2023, that 90-day moratorium from the adoption of this resolution consider revisions and licensing of all marijuana establishments within the city of Memphis under the Memphis City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 117, Title 11, Marijuana Establishments.
Do we need to edit this to say all new establishments?
No, all marijuana establishments, no, what we're.
I know what you're doing, yeah.
Okay, what the attorney is saying, that since we stopped the revisions of the marijuana establishments back, I believe you said, yeah, of
You're
21.
highlighted.
And we stopped it because of the impending lawsuit.
I was just saying, here's
Yeah.
what Alan wrote, new,
Yeah, well, he put new, but
yeah,
we're.
so I believe we
yeah.
should put new.
All right, we can put new in there. then.
Just
Okay,
add
so the reason we're doing that is we're in the process of revising that ordinance to eliminate all other establishments, so we want a moratorium on it. So, yeah, we can put new in there.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay.
Can I make a couple suggestions?
Certainly.
So everything that we have in our ordinances is all spelled with an H,
Yes.
and it's federally it's spelled with an H, so I don't know if that matters or not. But I was just wondering why we're restricting ourselves to 90 days. I would say 180 days would be much more realistic. I mean, it doesn't matter when it gets done, right?
Yeah,
No,
because
what we suggested there too, that if 90 days, it's not done in 90 days, we can extend it. But I have no objection if you want to put 180 days.
I would prefer 180.
All right, then we'll revise it to 180 days.
And then the amended language.
I also would like to offer a discussion and amendment on this, if I may.
Certainly.
Okay, just a little background too for me, Tim. The resolution, or the amendment I want to offer to this is pretty much staying, it's not really changing the moratorium aspect of it, but the ordinance 209 was written, the way it's written, it allows us to adopt, reject any amendments under provision 11701D. Gives the council the right, which is what we're operating under here right now, to put forth this moratorium. We had a couple motions that were adopted under July in 2021 as far as the indoor-outdoor goes, so those are already done. I'm sure that we'll incorporate those properly in the language when we meet with the attorney. But I would like to offer a little bit more if we're going to be doing this under this auspice right now. Going to your point there, there's no reason to give the lawyer any more money. But as the discussions we had following the adoption of those planning commission recommendations which the council adopted on the indoor-outdoor grows, and as this, at that time, my understanding was with the meetings that we had, that really the only language we were going to have remaining was the language that dealt with the marijuana dispensaries, was my understanding.
That's correct.
So I don't see any reason why we could not at this time. So it doesn't have to be an issue to be discussed with the lawyer, and something we already have. And what I'm doing, I guess I'll just have to read it. It's a resolution to amend section 117.03 as stated below, and pass a moratorium to consider further revisions to the marijuana ordinance on marijuana establishments. Whereas the Memphis City Code wishes to amend section 117.03 and wishes a 90-day moratorium to consider a revision to the marijuana established ordinance. Now therefore be resolved by the Memphis City Council of the City of Memphis, Michigan, effective January 3, 2023, and under chapter 117, title 11, marijuana establishments, section 117.03, authorized establishment be amended as such, and this is what I'm proposing. 117.03B10 marijuana growers operating under Class B or C license issued by Lara under either triple MFLA or MRTMA. 117.03B2, 0 marijuana growers operating under license issued by Lara, either under triple MFLA or MRTMA. 117.03B4, 0 provisioning center operating under a license issued by Lara under triple MFLA. 117.03B5, 0 marijuana processors operating under a license issued by Lara under triple MFLA, MRTA. 117.03B6, 0 marijuana secured transporters operating under a license issued by Lara under triple MFLA or MTA. And 117.03B7, 0 safety compliance facilities operating under a license issued by Lara either under triple MFLA or MRTMA. And let it be further resolved that a 90-day, or if you wish 180, moratorium exists from the adoption of this resolution to consider further revisions and licensing of all marijuana established within the city of Memphis under the Memphis Code of Ordinances, Title 11, Chapter 117, 117.01 through 117.10 marijuana establishments within the city. At a special meeting of the Memphis City Council on the 3rd day of January, so forth, so on, and I made a copy of it.
Can I make a comment though?
Certainly, that's what I just
All
want
right,
to make sure that you understand, I'm wishing to amend the ordinance, right? Am I doing that properly?
No,
I'm not.
no. All of that you cited has to be put into the ordinance. So all we're doing now is passing a resolution at the suggestion of our attorney to only delay any, for 180 days until we revise the ordinance. Now, the reason we're pushing this and getting the delay is that the existing, or the second retail outlet requested to have a part of that one issue in that ordinance to ask if he could put it in. I think it was a processing unit, wasn't it?
Well, let's not, Larry, excuse me, let me interrupt just for a second, because I would like to flesh out my point here. And I did this before I read the attorney's opinion, which you all had in front of you. States plainly in there, we can do that.
No, we can, but it's not necessary to do.
Why not? Why do we have to wait? We've been waiting 18 months
No, but it can be put.
to have this language changed, and I know that we waited because of lawsuits and for, but why do we have to wait another 90 days, another 180 days? Because we had these discussions.
I don't know if that can be made by resolution.
One thing is,
You've got to change the
one thing
ordinance.
is,
I believe it has to be made by an
Oh,
ordinance.
yeah, you can't change it by.
You have to make an
resolution.
amendment ordinance
See?
to the ordinance.
But does not our code said that by,
but there's a process to it. We can do it, but there's a process.
We
But
have,
the
just
thing
like the
is,
same process that we're doing with this 180 days?
one thing is, your provisioning center that you mentioned in there, that is the dispensary. That's what a dispensary is.
That is not the same thing.
Yes,
The
it's a provisioning
code
center.
definitions are different. The definitions in the book. if I-
It's a store, it's a
If I
retail
understand
store,
it
it's a
right.
provisioning center.
all I'm saying, Steve, is those have to be done by ordinance. We
Processing and
can't do
provisioning
it
are
by
two different things.
resolution.
One at a time, please. I'm just trying to make the case. I'm not being adversarial here, but the way, I spent a lot of time reading these ordinances, and you may add or subtract the number and type of businesses according to that ordinance 209.
Is that the zoning or is that the actual ordinance?
That's the ordinance,
It's
209,
not- So the numbers,
117.
the numbers is not part of the zoning?
No. It's
No,
ordinance
see,
209.
There's
That
two,
is the exact language in the ordinance. I think it is proper.
Well,
And we
provisioning
have the
center
power to
wouldn't
do
be
that.
included in that, because that is the retail store. That's what they are. That's what a retail store and a provisioning center, it's the same thing.
and the.
There's adult use,
All
there's
right.
adult use provisioning
I'll concede
center.
that point.
Yeah, there's adult use
I'll
provisioning center
strike
and
that for the
medical.
time being, but
Yeah,
again, this is what I'm trying to get at here, Jason, is I think we can do this amount of business here tonight and without having involving another 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, hour of the attorney's time. We discussed this already that we're gonna do this, I'll see your point, and, you know, we can take that up, on the 16th, whether.
Yeah, it's coming
both
out
things are the
anyway,
same.
right.
But the rest of them, you know, we already had some that operate under 0 businesses in there. There's only 10 of them in there, you know, 11701 through 10. I mean, I'm following the way that our code book says that we offer these. Exactly, I mean, I'm not just making this up, the way I'm presenting it here this evening. And if I'm mistaken, then I'm mistaken, but I don't think I am.
Well, I don't, I
I
could
mean,
be
we can
wrong.
rewrite this any way we want, or
No.
amend it, or
No,
have
I-
it for discussion
I-
and vote on it,
I-
or not. Though if you don't want to agree with it, I understand, Larry,
Yeah.
but
I don't think you can make those changes by ordinance, or by resolution.
resolution.
You've gotta do them by ordinance. And we'll accomplish the same thing, but we'll have to do it through an ordinance, by amending that ordinance.
By amendment of the
Yeah.
ordinance, not by
Yeah.
resolution.
So all we want here is that we don't want anything going on, and we're suggesting now 180 days instead of 90 days, moratorium till we resolve all of these issues. But I think this has to be done by ordinance, not by resolution. And I prefer do it that way, and I'll make a motion to that effect, and
I'll
see
support
where,
it.
and see where it goes. But, I know you did a lot of work on it, Steve, and I appreciate that.
it's not a matter of doing the work on it. I'm doing what the code book lays out that we can do. The way that was written, the whole ordinance by council resolution. So I'm asking, City of Memphis resolution.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm following the exact same format that you laid out here for this one, exactly, by resolution.
no,
And you're dealing with the same ordinance. Why is this not applicable?
because what you're
I think
doing
that
in
was
here has to
step
be done
one.
by, you have to amend the ordinance. You have to amend the existing ordinance to eliminate these. You can't do it by resolution, I don't think. It has, we make amendments to the resolution, or I'm sorry, to the
Ordinance.
ordinance, yeah. And we've done it, I've been on here almost 26 years, and that's how we've done it, so.
Well, can you explain to me why it says that we can add or subtract by fiat, basically, by the council?
Yeah, but you do
So
it by.
you're saying I'm one step ahead of you here? or-
Yeah, you're just one step ahead of me. You're gonna do this by ordinance.
So the moratorium is to give us time
To do that,
to do all of this.
Yeah.
Right, to get that.
Kind of basically put a freeze on everything. Let's look at everything. I mean, I haven't
And
had
then
a
you
chance to
can,
look
then you
at
can write your changes to the ordinance.
right.
Right,
We'll
to
amend the ordinance.
amend the
We'll do the
ordinance.
same thing you're saying here, but we'll do it through the ordinance. We'll amend the existing ordinance and that's how it's done, by amending the ordinance. Steve, it's, I'm about 100% sure I'm
I'm
right.
old, but I'm teachable, Larry. I'm just trying to go, you know, I'm sitting here just going through things, trying to understand the best I can and move the process along. I mean, this has been hanging out there for a year and a half.
I know, it was put on hold for a reason, and
I
now
understand
we're,
all the impetus behind
Yeah.
that too, so it's time to move on it. I'm
And
just
that's
trying to move on it.
well, that's what we're gonna do, and that's why we're extending this moratorium for 180 days so we can get it resolved, because there's two ordinances, there's one in establishments, one in zoning. Now, there is an area in the zoning that we're gonna have to change too, and that may have to go through the planning commission. I'm not sure if it's significant enough to have to do it, but anyway, that's another thing, so, but we'll get into that on our special meeting on the 16th.
So you're saying that the usual ordinance amendment process doesn't
Yeah,
apply here?
No, not resolution, but, yeah, we can't
Or
do that.
the amendment ordinance?
Yeah, we have to amend the ordinance, yeah. We can't do it by resolution, we have to amend the ordinance.
Well, that absolutely contradicts what the attorney wrote.
No, he
I
might,
don't want to give privileged information away, but there's what he wrote, Larry. Am I mistaken? And I'm not trying to, you know, argue with you, but I'm really trying to understand.
it's right here, it says, you use the usual ordinance amendment process. That's what we're gonna do, and when we do it, it'd be.
Because there's no zoning.
Well, no zoning, and it's no zoning, it will not have to go to the planning commission, but the other ordinance that is on zoning, it has one area in there that says, it says, performance-based, and it should have been, C1, commercial
Central business.
overlay district. That's what it should, but I want that out of there, because we don't want it down, anything down there. So that may have to go to planning, but I'm not sure yet. We'll have that decision made, but that says
Well, I mean,
amend, the
if no
usual
licenses are
ordinance
available.
amendment process. So it's amending the,
So I'll save this for the 16th then. Okay.
yeah, and that's what we were in the process of doing, exactly what you got on there.
But it does say another option is to revise the number of licenses allowed under the
Yes.
ordinance.
Well,
Could you just zero everything out?
Pardon?
Could we just zero everything out?
Well, that was my understanding.
Legally,
Reading it, so-
legally, we can't do that
Okay,
because.
all right, I just wanted to.
You tried to do that and we can't do that, but, I mean, we wanted zero, really, that was.
I wonder why we even write that then.
But anyway, there's been a motion on and a second to the motion,
Okay.
so I'd like to vote on it.
Wilson?
Yes.
What, can we
What's
repeat
the
what the
motion?
motion?
Oh,
Sorry.
repeat the motion.
What was the
Oh,
motion?
You said before.
We
on the
already made a
resolution.
motion with, oh, back.
Okay, I'm sorry.
With the changes.
Okay, I make a motion for the resolution to establish a 180-day moratorium to consider the revision of the marijuana establishments ordinance.
I thought you wanted to change some wording on there too.
Yeah, let's change it.
180 days.
Yeah, and
And
there's,
correct.
let's change marijuana to the spelling with the
Marijuana
H.
establishments.
And also licensing of all new marijuana establishments.
Just put new in there, yeah.
Because the other ones are
So we
already
don't scratch
grandfathered
down.
or whatever you call them.
All right.
Already issued.
Okay, Wilson,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Zimmer,
Yes.
Martyr,
Yes.
Mazer,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Sofa.
Yes.
Can I ask you, Donna, something?
Yeah.
Since we're talking about marijuana. Has the processing license ever been out there for somebody to apply for?
You've
Yes.
never opened it back up though.
Yeah,
All of our
originally.
license opened up at one time.
Originally.
At one time, yes, in the
Okay,
very
and then
beginning,
And then
yes.
they closed?
And then you guys closed the process and I'm not allowed to open up anything till you guys tell me. The
And how
attorney
would
told
we
me.
know to open them?
Well, I can come to you and
Yeah,
say people
no.
are interested, or you could just tell me.
Okay,
You
well,
know,
somebody
it's
was
time we want something
interested.
else in town.
Or was somebody interested?
Yeah. For, I
Yeah,
think, the
yeah.
processing center, it was.
And the processing license is the same as the medical and recreational dispensary license.
No.
No,
There's two
the
different
processing.
ones.
Completely different.
There's an adult use
That-
one.
that's
and
like
there's
an industrial.
Provisioning is the same thing.
Provisioning is the same thing, yeah. Provisioning is a store.
Not processing.
Processing is taken.
Processing it would have to, as zoning usually, processing would go into what, light industrial? Because they are actually producing, they're manufacturing something there.
All right, thank you for clarifying these terms.
Do we have light industrial ones?
Yep, we do.
Industrial is Grace's.
That's there.
You have one?
I was just asking if we had like industrial.
Actually, Jensen's is light industrial too, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that tissue place? Is that-
Yeah.
Yeah, light industrial is G5 down on Mill Street,
Donato's.
Donato's,
Yeah.
and I believe what he said over there, that
We used to be
T-shirt shop,
Jensen's.
Jensen's Auto.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that 12 acres at one time was light industrial, then it was switched to condo, right? Wasn't that light
What is the
industrial?
answer?
We should.
Originally, it was
Yeah,
light industrial?
It was condos, and then I think.
Actually, it was
not-
mobile home,
Yeah,
and then it was changed to,
Light industrial?
no, residential multiple
yeah,
for condominiums, and I'm not sure where it stands right now.
it was- I think.
Actually, I think it went back to
I think
agricultural.
it's,
I think it
I don't know, we don't have an agriculture, I think it's went back to light industrial,
Did it?
I think so.
I don't recall.
I have to look at the map. I have the map here.
Anyways,
Fair enough. Boardman Road.
yep, back on the Boardman Road. Larry, this is all you, right?
Yes, it is. Okay, now I'm going to try to be brief, and I gave you a little outline there, and I gave you a spreadsheet.
Hey, on the good side, it looks like we got more money, right?
We did. The original, and I'll just give you the, actually, I guess I'll just give you the, what the grant was. The grant originally was 409,600. It got reduced to 319,000. Then it was restated up to 409 again. And then we had BNJ, because there was more money available. And so we got it okayed for another 28,000 to 437,000. And then they changed it with the final meeting we had, because we had two of them. And it went up to a total of 36,790. So the total grant now is 446,390. And our portion of that is 109,400. So the total of the project is 55,790. Our engineering estimate on that is 568,000. But as you all know, you never know what it's going to be until the bid comes back in. So in most cases, it's we've had a lot. There's been a lot of increases, so we don't know. So, and I did talk to Phil at BMJ today. It's a kind of in NDOT's hands right now, because they're doing the quoting on it. They put it out for bid. He kind of thinks it probably will be, we were hoping for February, but he kind of thinks it might be March before it's ready. So anyway, that's just a short.
Is this anything that we have to move on? Is this anything we have to move on? I mean, or is this?
No, nothing else to move on
It's just
now.
more informational for all of us to know that
It's just made,
we're,
right.
the money we're getting has been increased.
Right.
That's
It's just been-
always good to hear.
Yeah, well,
It went down, it went up, it went up a little bit more, and it's gone up a little bit more.
Yeah, and just for your, and I did put the Major Street Fund right now is at 545,000.
That's
And-
where we're at right now.
Yeah, and so the,
So that would leave us with 348,000 to
yeah, if
cover.
everything goes in correct, yeah, so, and if they bid it in March, we'll probably okay it in April, I don't know when they can start production or start construction. It'll be this year.
Okay. Well, keep turning rocks over, Larry.
Pardon?
Keep turning rocks
Keep finding
over.
money.
Okay.
All right, next up. So Donna, you wanna buy some new desks? Are the doors falling out on you now?
They've been,
They've been around forever.
they've been.
So, our clerk and assistant clerk are looking to get a couple of, actually, are you gonna replace Jamie's too?
No, because he's not gonna be here
Oh, okay.
for long.
So, we're looking to replace a couple of desks for a cost of $2,553. And you put aside $2,000 already?
Yeah, and it might even be cheaper than that.
This is original estimates, if you do a little more shopping around.
It might be a
Literature's
couple
over
hundred
lot.
cheaper, we just found out today, so.
Okay, well, can we get a motion to approve to spending up to $2,553 for a couple of new desks?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Weaver,
Yes.
Zimmer,
Yes.
Martyr,
Yes.
Mazer,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Sofa,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna read the header of this, excuse me. The performance resolution for municipalities, excuse me. This performance resolution is required by the Michigan Department of Transportation for purposes of issuing a municipality an individual permit for use of state highway right-of-way and/or an annual application and permit for miscellaneous operations within the state highway right-of-way. So this is basically gives our streets administrator the ability to work within the state guidelines, correct?
Yeah,
I
we
see
do
you
this
didn't name- You
annually.
didn't name him in here, you just.
No, we put that a few years ago, just in case he wasn't here or something.
Somebody
It's
else
just the
did.
street administrator.
Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Support.
Zimmer,
Yes.
Murder,
Yes.
Mazer,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Sofa,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
All right, from the mayor. So we have a special meeting on January 16th at 11 o'clock. This is to go over several issues with the marijuana and zoning. We also have a finance committee meeting at 10 a.m. the same day on the 16th. For me, I really don't have anything else. I wish everybody a happy new year. Hopefully it goes well, and that's it for me. Jason?
I don't have anything except for the same thing. Happy New Year.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to review that big water grant that we have for $1,220,000. The grant itself will be $1,065,000. We have to come up with $355,000. We had another meeting the other in December, and I'm not going to go over the memo I made because it's kind of self-explanatory, but I'll just kind of go over the dates that we got to meet. May 19th, all bids must be finalized, and when I say that they'll be working with Bart and maybe me a little bit too. We'll have to prepare bids and have the bids prepared on all the things we're going to be doing. You know, backup generator, everything related. I got a list, I think, in there that you can go over. And the engineering on Lois and Robert Streets is already started in December. And I think that has to be completed by February, I think he told us. The publications of the bids will be on May 24th. The opening of the bids will be June 26th. The resolution for approval of council, July 5th. And the notice to proceed will be October 27th. So theoretically, most of this will actually be done in '24.
Right.
So, and now I discussed financing with him because I think looking at the figures, we could probably finance that $355,000 ourselves. However, they're looking at the funding and I think the interest rate, I believe I said was 1.8 or something. But I want to know. It'll be issuing treasury bonds, that's how they'll handle it. And I want to know if we can have early payback, because I don't want something out there that's going on for 20, 40 years or whatever.
So if we have the ability to pay it back, we'd be able to pay it back
Yeah,
instead of
see-
having to write out the length of the
Right,
loan.
see, it's water, so we have money in our water and sewer fund, part of it. Part of it is going to be replacing the water lines and Lois, so, and some reconstruction of the road, or section, what we'll do
Right.
there, because I'll have to be done. So some could come out of that, but what I'll do is when we get more facts down the road, I'll have a DPW committee meeting, and we'll kind of review it and make a recommendation to council
Okay.
at that time. And the other thing I just wanted to mention was the wastewater improvements. That was another one that we applied, and that total cost was $4,600,000. In my opinion, we can't, even if we had 25%, we can't really afford $1,150,000. So I suggested that the dredging of the lagoons be taken out of there. Because the last study we had done last year.
Push that
we
back.
got- Yeah, we got about 10 years life before, before they'd have to be changed. So he's looking at that too, and because that would be a lot of backup generators for some of the areas that we needed, and fencing of the lagoon, doing repair work on the roads, all that kind of stuff. So there's other things, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But anyway, I just wanted the current one, I just wanted to kind of review that, so where it stands. So, and that's all I have.
Mr. Weaver?
Yeah, I sent you guys all an information pack, just a few things that are on my mind that come to the council, one, to maybe make some progress on. The first one was having to do with, just gave you all a synopsis of that zoning board of appeals meeting, so that you had my take on it. It's also on channel 6.2, I believe. And the long and short of that is the zoning variance was denied, and the stop work order was held at that ZBA meeting by a 6-0 vote on both of them. And in that first one, I cited 3 specific codes in Title 15 land use zoning, which are being violated. And I believe those definitely will apply to the Elias Brothers, former Elias assisted living structure. And perhaps, I guess I just heard something, we need to be discussing that at the 16th too.
Yes, we will.
Again, just sharing it with everybody, my thoughts on it. I didn't want to blindside anybody with the way I'm thinking about this. I'll put it on the agenda at this point in time until I at least, put it out there, so maybe I can be corrected or given more information on it. But again, like with some of these other issues, it's really time to move on this one, especially with the labor camps, seasonal workers, migrant laborers, whatever moniker you want to put on it there. Because this is just, doesn't seem like they're wanting to play ball there. It's still in the last, at that zoning board meeting, he said he was going to clean up around there, and he did, and it's still there. Some of the litter and tables and broken windows and all that kind of stuff. And it's my understanding that there has never been an inspection of the former assisted living place or an occupancy permit. I don't even know if anybody's in there right now or not, if they're coming and going, I really don't know. But those things need to take place. I think the city inspector needs to go over there, look at that building. If you got more than 6 people in there, it's gotta have a fire suppression system. I know that from speaking to the previous owner. And those are 2 completely different entities. One is adult foster care. This is whatever you want to call that for labor camps, so they are governed by totally different Michigan statutory law. So it's a non-conforming use, and that term is applying to both of those places. Maybe not the duplex that's there, but those 2 places for sure. Those are non-conforming uses any way you cut it. And then these things, I did cite the codes there so that you can look at them and, again, see if I'm on the mark or if I'm not, or maybe have some additions to that. Change my mind, if I'm wrong on it. The other point that I, couple of them here, this will create, that won't take up a lot of time here, but just trying to clear up a lot of this, because there's going to be many things coming up over the next year, and it seems like these have just been out there a long time. I put a evaluation of what that C1 commercial district overlay is, because we were working on that on the planning commission to get that language straightened out. There is clear definition in the zoning, and we're going to include that in the master plan update and present a definition of that non-conforming use in there also, so that those 2 documents are going to line up.
I'm sorry, what are you including? I didn't hear that.
The description of what commercial district overlay is. We got neighborhood, basically the same thing from the old language. We have neighborhood.
Commercial?
So you're looking
Might be
for clarifications when we move forward on the new master plan to, kind of clarify where we're going with the C1 overlay.
Mm-hmm.
And a real important part of that is how these properties are going to revert. So there will not be any further confusion on that, because that's, I think, been slowing us down with the arguments that they've been presenting us, that they were past practice uses and so forth, which that really doesn't hold water either, but we want to say exactly how that's gonna work. When you have an existing business, they need to be inspected, they need to be stated that what the certificate of occupancy is going to state, whether there was a non-conforming use in that property or not. And again, that one.
So we'll have to make sure this is a crossover between the new master plan and our ordinance.
They should basically say the same thing, Mr. Mayor.
And it should be
Just so that
uniform
they're-
across town, really, because you got the apartment complex over here that would probably have to get looked at. The old schoolhouse, any other
Well, I'm just concerned with the C1 corridor right now, Jason, you know, so that we have that, because that's basically the new language that we've added, not too new, but with the master plan.
Oh,
The
okay.
commercial district overlay, which is running the length here.
It's not like with the inspections and things like that, like if it's there.
Just so that we know it's allowable, and basically it is C1, all the uses that are allowed in that, and R1A. So you can build anything you want really along this corridor if they bring a plan to us, if it is done under the code descriptions that, of what is allowed in the zoning district C1 or R1A.
Okay.
But in addition to that, you know, we gotta have something, I offered a little bit in there for it on how that is going to work once a building is vacated. And you'll find, I'll let you look at it if you want in there, it's just real short, and again, it'd be a thing that we would have to amend the code with, of how it will revert back to R1A. But even though we say it reverts back to R1A, you still are allowed to build anything under the C1 zoning code. So we have all that spelled out there already, but I think it needs to be explicitly stated. It seems like people want to keep doing different things in these, along this corridor. They're not allowed in C1. The labor camp being foremost, you know, that is, there is a place in zoning that could be fit, and that's residential multiple. It does say boarding house.
Right now, there's, like residential labor camp doesn't appear anywhere in our zoning.
No, there is
So it's
boarding
unregulated.
houses, with without
Unregulated.
meals.
Yeah,
You know,
separate.
somebody might construe that, so that's something that would have to be considered, you know, if they want to explicitly state that that's not allowed, or if it is allowed.
Well,
But I can tell you one thing, it's not allowed under C1.
It's not allowed.
No.
It's not allowed either, because if it doesn't have the language for a specific thing, that's why we had to change the zoning for the mom's kitchen. Because if we didn't, if it was specifically not allowed in that spot, if we left it unzoned, it could go anywhere, that's what we were told. So that's why we had to zone that, so that we could regulate it.
Yeah, and all I'm trying to do is clear up what is absolutely allowed in
Mhm.
C1. And that is not, and I cited 6 different parts of chapter 150 there, that I believe you can make a case out of any one of those that would exclude it. And it shows that they're violating, you know, that there. And I'll definitely bring that to the meeting, since we're gonna be talking about that too. And Larry, I think you answered my question. We did when we updated some language for the marijuana ballot 1 initiative, which allows private grows. And the regulation of that, so that we can inspect and make sure electricity and water and all that. I was wondering, could you tell me where that is going to appear in the code? If it isn't there now, I didn't find it. It's not that, I don't believe we did it, but I'd just like to know where it's supposed to appear, so that I can make a note of that. You don't have to do it right now, but if anybody can get that information to me. It was, again, the motion was made, I got it out of it.
And this is on the residential road.
Yeah, you know, the stack licenses and all that, which is in flux, I understand, but still, just if a homeowner, you said you had to do it, either you had to do it on a property you lived on, or lived in, and that it would be subject to.
It had to be the
building
resident, and it had to be an enclosed building, and
the building codes had to be up to date, so they're not pulling 220 out of a, you know, for whatever, just the way the electricity is set up in there and all that. But I don't know where that is, and I would like to know for future, you know, reference in case it comes up. And I know Don said we update once a year, so, you
I can
know.
print it up for you.
Thank you.
I can put the ordinance up.
Yeah, so, but it's not in the code book yet, that's why I just wanted to
Yeah,
have something, so I.
Yeah, it's ordinance 215, I have a copy of it right here, so, and, I can get you a copy of this, or she can get you a copy of it.
Yeah, I just wanted to have one, so I was.
Yeah, and then the
Talk
other,
about it, if
yeah,
somebody asks me.
and the other thing is, we did have, pass a resolution, and there is a application checklist they have to do as well.
And just to be clear, that if somebody goes, like the police chief goes to someone's house and asks them, are you growing marijuana? And the person says yes, they have no probable cause to go into the house. They can't get a warrant, they can't do an inspection. Because it's totally illegal. They don't have to let you in. and show you anything, just to be clear.
They do have to get a permit from the city though, correct?
Not for
Not
residential
for
growers.
now.
Not for personal,
Not for personal growers. Only if you're doing it as a business.
Yeah, like a
So we really don't.
or if you're doing it as a,
We do have one for the business end of
Yeah,
it.
medical,
No, I'm just talking about private, so
Yeah,
you,
you can't.
So
you do-
private grow, that basically falls under state regulation.
that's
I
on
forget.
2018 at Prop 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, not a lot you can do with that.
Okay, well, that's why I wanted to know what the ordinance said, just in case I'm quizzed on
We get a
that.
copy
Well,
of this.
that's not our ordinance. That's just how the state law is.
That's
That
a-
If you're not growing for other people and the police come to your door and they ask you and you say, yes, I am, they really have there's nowhere else for them to go.
But if you're doing stack licensing or providing
Yeah,
medical
you're not allowed to
marijuana,
do that, right?
under the.
Totally different.
But there's no licensing needed for at-home grow,
No,
for
no, no.
personal
Yeah,
at-home
that's
grow.
what I'm trying to figure out.
For
exactly
personal
what that
consumption,
ordinance
what
would
is it,
address.
12 plants per person?
Yeah, as long as you're in line with the state.
We did already do an ordinance for people who are caregiver growers.
Caregivers, right.
And we limited it to, had to be your primary residence. I believe you had to be the landowner.
It had to be enclosed.
It had to be enclosed and it was limited to 100 square feet. Is what I think we did, right,
I
Larry?
think we have, yeah, it's only.
So for medical caregiver growers, they're pretty well restricted. I mean, I don't know how much you can do in 100 square feet. Not a lot of room, I don't really know. Seems.
All right, well, I'll catch up with that.
Yeah, it's it, yeah.
It's already in our ordinance though.
Yeah, I got the
Is
ordinance.
that the 215 one?
The latest one that we
215.
revised.
And now, did you look online at the ordinance?
I did not for that.
Okay, because I believe I sent this one in, because now I send them in as they come, they allow it
What
now.
title would that be under? Land usage,
Well, would-
15?
what is that under? Is that?
It's,
No?
It's section 150.001.
Thank you.
And of course, there's other sections.
150.001?
Yeah, 150.001.
Okay, yeah, that's just the start of it, that
Yeah.
describes
It's
the whole thing.
it's amending chapter 150 in the Code of Ordinance.
It's down further, right? Oh, it's right here. So if you go down to 8A is where it really starts
Yeah.
and tells you how,
It's-
those are people who are doing it as a business though, like
Okay,
caregivers. not
Anyhow,
personal.
Steve, that we will update your books once a year, they tell
Right.
me, but they can do it online sooner. So now I'm
Oh.
starting to send them in.
yeah, I got it.
I don't know, because I just done it recently, it might not be there yet, but it might.
Okay,
So online is probably newer than your book.
yeah, I got that link, that's been helpful.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to navigate the code. I mean, one of those, just
Sure.
having a search on there.
Just keyword search,
Yeah.
so easy.
Yeah, I'm getting familiar with it. One of the other issues I had in there was the parcel on N19, again, is violating the C1 zoning ordinance. That's the building supplies and desks and whatever else, and I, again, cited the codes that I think that is violating, and I know the guy's been talked to, and I think it's time to move on that too, and if we can't really make any progress over the next couple of weeks, I would be wanting to add that to the agenda. And,
I think Larry wanted to add that on.
Yeah, I have it in my notes there, that I responded to, that we could put this special meeting on.
Is that just about
on
the
agenda.
Building material?
In reference to the material, yeah, he's selling.
Just building
Yeah,
material?
right,
Or is it just any products for sale?
yes.
Well, and that's just it. It's like, that's
There's a number of
just,
things.
that's just one of the violations. I mean, you know, one of
Well,
those,
it's
it's the merchandise for sale. It's nuisance because there's building materials being
Oh, yeah.
stored without a building permit in place.
it's endangering public
I
safety.
mean, it's one of those, you wanna delve into, is that a fence? You know, the barriers that he has all around, so.
There's a bunch of stuff,
I
I
just-
didn't want to cite everything, but it's just, trying to give the guy a chance to work one more time, but this, again, it's been laying out there, and I'd like to clear all these things off, and it's just, sets a bad precedent. We want to keep our corridor, we want people to drive up and down every day, looking a little nicer. if we
Well,
can.
I just wonder, worry, or think that, if you, whatever you do with whatever you do, you are setting a precedence, or you are making a rule that would generally apply to every business on Main Street.
Yeah.
If you're gonna say it's him,
You're in C1.
you're gonna also say that B and D can't have anything out front either.
It's in C1.
Right.
Whatever is allowed under that is under it. It should be equal application under the law.
Right.
You
And
know,
at the present time,
Unlike
these
These
are,
are, you know, it go all the way down Main Street
But,
to
yeah,
the,
but-
the gas stations, any store, if one of the retailers up on Main
I just
Street
wanna
wants to
start
put a
with
display
this.
out front,
you know, I don't want.
because that parcel is currently
Figure out the whole ball of wax,
residential.
but this is a pretty obvious one.
But I know it's tied into business, I just wonder about, if you make a change for one, it's gonna apply to everybody.
Not making any changes, Jason, we're enforcing the code,
Enforcing it.
Okay,
that's all.
Oh, this
It
is
can be
just
forced under nuisance,
existing,
it can be
okay.
forced under C1 violation. I'm not singling anybody out, but I mean, it's pretty apparent, pretty blatant out there, and he doesn't seem to be wanting to work with
oh, I
us.
know.
So, you know, I just,
Say if
I
you're
think it's time
gonna
to move
enforce
on.
one, you'd have to enforce equally, like you said. And I
Absolutely,
agree.
absolutely. And I'm trying to keep you abreast also of, as time goes on, what we're doing in the planning commission, so it's not like Congress, I'm gonna put a 4,000-page document on your desk and say, we want you to approve the new master plan. So as we go along, it's not necessarily gonna be exactly like that, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of what we're doing, so I'm including some of the stuff I'm giving to the planning commission, and that was our proposal for their benefit and knowledge. And I did put a part in there about the appearance tickets. You know, we do have ways to enforce these. Got a fire marshal, fire chief, building inspector, they're all able to issue appearance tickets.
Sure, they'd be busy.
If it comes down to it and they don't want to.
They'd be busy around town for sure.
You know, if they don't want to work with the people that are trying to verbally do it, a little diplomacy, then we have to enforce it. And then I think, Donna, you answered my question, Dave, we do have those dates in the back. I know there were a couple of dates where things weren't passed, and I was just ordinances, and I just want to make sure that they were in fact passed. Right in the back of the book, they got zoning map changes, and it was ordinance 115, 116. But I think you answered my question there, that those are, just for some reason, they weren't listed in the book. But, again, it's those little details that people trip us up on, you know, I just don't, I want to just be fighting a good fight if we're going to be disputing various things down the road.
And I responded to that draft there, and where it was, you see the draft we have.
Yeah, I'll look at that.
Yeah, it was I'll just say here, it was my mistake in not following up and not having the draft removed from the zoning map ordinance number 197 adopted December 15, 2015, that changed the zoning to the master plan. And I didn't follow up and have that, so that can be changed, we just.
Okay, I just, again, just trying to bring it up to attention, you know, I didn't want to let it go by. If it's something we could fix, fix it. Thank you, that's all I have.
Eric.
I'm gonna talk about it.
Okay.
I'm good, thanks.
I'm good.
Eric?
Okay, so in your packets, you all got this piece of paper. If you're interested, if you don't want to fill it out, you don't have to. So this would be the information that they would put on a identification card for themselves, similar to what probably the fire department all has and the police officers have. It won't say obviously, police or anything. It'll just say I put Memphis City Council on mine. I know I had one before, but it's expired now, so I don't have it anymore, obviously. But I think it's a good idea to have an ID in case, whatever, who knows what's gonna happen or what will happen. But it's just another piece of ID and it will identify you as an employee and city council member.
In case we ask somebody something,
Yeah, never know.
doesn't hurt, right?
Never hurts to have an extra piece of ID in your pocket, as far as I'm concerned.
We just have one to Donna.
Yeah. Any questions?
I thought I asked for Bert.
Is it like a license ID, or I'm just give you a
It's a
card?
photo ID, yeah, she'll want you to send in a picture, and it'll have a,
I don't know your stuff.
I don't even know what they're.
it'll have a,
Usually
Oh, I'll fill out
QR
stuff you don't.
codes.
QR code,
And
yeah.
your
It'll have a
birthdays
QR
and all
code.
that. Put in your birthday and everything, I don't know that. Fill out what you know.
yeah, you don't need a lot of the stuff probably on there.
Eric, are you getting those through St. Clair County Emergency Management?
Yeah, I think so.
That's where we get our fire ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what the police get theirs too, I'm sure, right? Yeah.
That's what this form is for, St. Clair County.
It's just a little card, it'll have your picture and your info, and on the back it'll have a QR code. If somebody scans it, it'll say Memphis City Council, basically. And all this information is not on your card, I think it's just in their system,
Right.
so they know who you are.
Well, so
That's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.